The ratings are in for Saturday's edition of AEW Collision Beach Break on TNT, despite the technical issues that the show faced on the broadcast network. WWE NXT at the Youngling Center in Tampa, Florida has been cancelled next week and moved back to the WWE Performance Center, possibly due to low ticket sales. Joe Hendry and Trick Williams both performed last night on NXT. Several matches have been confirmed for this weekend's WWE Battleground PLE. Several matches are also confirmed for next week's edition of NXT on the CW. One of the co-winners of WWE LFG attacks NXT champion Obafemi on NXT. OTM returns to WWE's developmental show. We've got the viewership information for last week's episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. More details on when Darby Allin is expected to return to AEW television. Could NXT Europe be finally set to launch later on this year? The reason why the Hardies are not booked for the upcoming AAA Triple Mania show has been revealed, and Ring of Honor will air on YouTube free this week. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Before we begin, you can see right there we're now less than 200 subscribers to go until 22,000 on that road to 25k. A reminder, earlier on this year, the goal for 2025 was to hit 20,000 subscribers. We smashed that over WrestleMania weekend. Now we're on our way to 25k. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and join the ever-expanding WNU, that being the Wrestling News universe. In addition, you can become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can click the join button or scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. Speaking of the sidebar, you can see all upcoming watch-alongs, post-shows we've got coming up this weekend, including WWE Saturday Night's main event, as well as AEW Double or Nothing. Be sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, you'll be notified when we go live. Let's begin with the ratings for Saturday's AEW Collision Beach Break. Now, of course, the show was in the headlines because the technical issues that happened during the show's live airing on TNT. Of course, it was taped after Dynamite on Wednesday, but when it was broadcast, there were problems that were later explained by Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, throughout this year, AEW Collision has performed well following sports events or playoff games, but when it returns to its usual time slot at 8 p.m. on Saturdays, the ratings often revert back to normal. AEW's secondary program has proven to post consistent numbers throughout the last 2 months, but the show continuously struggles to draw above the 400,000 viewer mark. Now, according to WrestleNomics, Collision averaged 398,000 viewers and posted a 0.08 in the key 18 to 49 demographic. Now, when comparing both categories to the previous week, total viewership increased slightly by 4%, while the 18 to 49 demographic declined by 11%. Now, WrestleNomics has also noted, of course, that Saturday's episode ended abruptly because of technical issues on the broadcast, with the viewership totals only reflecting the 87 minutes that aired live, of course, on tape delay. Additionally, Collision faced stiff NHL and NBA playoff competition on Saturday, but they still managed to rank number 9 on the night among cable originals in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. Now, as you can see, it actually did buck the trend that we have seen recently over the last 90 days, where viewership was increasing throughout the show. But again, we don't have the full viewership information because, of course, the show ended abruptly with Black Adam instead playing due to those technical issues. Although Collision is averaging better viewership totals compared to this time last year, their numbers in the key demographic continue to disappoint. Since May 2024, Collision has dropped by 33% in the 18 to 49 demo, averaging a 0.08 for the entirety of 2025. Now, this is likely due to AEW's Saturday program now streaming on HBO Max, which hosts younger viewers compared to those on cable. Following the technical error for AEW Collision, AEW President Tony Khan made the uninterrupted version of the program available to watch on Max as of May 19th. Reports also suggested that the Triller TV feed for the show was also interrupted, with many international fans encountering similar broadcasting issues as well. Of course, this past Saturday's pre-taped episode of Collision also featured a tribute to the late NFL player and wrestler Steve Mongo McMichael, who was honored by WWE Hall of Famer the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Now, NXT has had a show cancelled on the road due possibly to low ticket sales. WWE's upcoming takeover in Tampa, Florida has one less show now. Originally, the company was slated to host 4 consecutive events from the Youngling Center, that being Saturday night's main event, NXT Battleground, WWE Monday Night Raw, and WWE NXT. In a new development, that would no longer be the case for NXT's broadcast on May 27th. Per Ticketmaster, the NXT event emanating from the Youngling Center has been cancelled, with refunds imminently being issued to ticket buyers by Ticketmaster. Additionally, the Youngling Center website has removed the May 27th event from its calendar of events. According to WrestleTix, around 1,700 tickets had been distributed at the time of the cancellation. For comparison, the NXT Battleground Premium Live event has moved more than 6,000 tickets so far. As of now, WWE have yet to name a replacement venue for next week's NXT show airing on the CW network. The WWE Performance Center in Orlando, the usual home for NXT, is approximately a 90-minute drive from Tampa, so the expectation is that it's going to be in the PC next week. Now, NXT Battleground, of course, is this weekend and will feature several high-profile matches, including world title matches and much more. Speaking of NXT, Joe Hendry and Trick Williams, they were front and center last night. Joe Hendry and Trick Williams battled on a microphone and in the ring before their TNA World title bout this weekend. For the first time, the TNA World Championship is going to be defended on a WWE Premium Live event when Joe Hendry puts the title on the line against Trick Williams at NXT Battleground. The Battleground Go-Home edition of NXT on the CW featured musical performances from both Williams and Hendry. Williams performed a song that featured the chorus of "I Ain't Never Backing Down to an Average Joe." At the end of his performance, Williams did Hendry's signature pose at the hard camera. Hendry delivered his performance in the closing segment and pulled up footage of Williams and Carmelo Hayes in the haunted house at NXT Halloween Havoc 2021. The chorus to Hendry's song was whoop that trick, everybody else says Melo's bitch." Williams entered the picture and the crowd chanted Melo's bitch at him. Williams then was able to get the crowd to chant Average Joe at Hendry before they came to blows. Trick laid Hendry out on the mat and attempted to go for a trick shot, but Hendry countered with a guitar shot to the knee. He then hit Williams with a standing ovation finisher to close out the segment. As mentioned, WWE Battleground is this weekend, and 2 more matches have been added to the WWE Battleground card this coming Sunday, including a Women's North American Championship match. After weeks of fighting for a shot at Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan defeated her tag team partner Zarya on Tuesday's episode to earn her shot at the Premium Live event. The match will be Ruka's first televised title defense since winning the championship in a ladder match at Stand and Deliver over WrestleMania weekend. A 6-man tag team match was also added. The Cullings, Sean Spears, Brooks Jensen, and Nico Vance will take on NXT Tag Team Champions Hank Ledger and Tank Walker alongside Josh Briggs. The match was made after Spears and Briggs faced off, but Izzy Dame interfered in the match and clocked Briggs while Jensen distracted the referee. Spears rolled up Briggs for the victory, and the Cullen continued to beat him down after the match before the Tag Team Champions came to his aid. 3 other title matches are set for Battleground, including an NXT Championship match where Obafemi will defend against Miles Bourne. NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer will defend against Jordan Grace, and Ricky Saints will take on Ethan Page for the North American Championship. That's also set for next week. The TNA Championship will also be defended for the first time on an NXT Premium Live event when Joe Hendry and Trick Williams square off. Now, speaking of the North American Championship, a match has been confirmed for next Tuesday. Ethan Page will be getting another opportunity at Ricky Saints' NXT North American title. Page challenged for the title unsuccessfully at Stand and Deliver in April, but he has continued to endeavor to regain gold and make his fellow former AEW stars life a misery, maintaining that energy during this week's WWE NXT as he attacks Saints at ringside. The NXT North American Champion was sat at ringside as 3 potential challengers, Javon Evans, Ashanti the Adonis, and Sean Legacy, fought to curry favor in the title picture. Towards the closing stretch of the bout, Page jumped the barricade and attacked Saints from behind, with the pair being broken up by security. Evans flew out to meet the cluster of bodies, while Legacy took the win inside the ring. Page and Saints continued to fight one another, brawling with security in order to do so. Later in the night, General Manager Ava had gathered them inside her office to make sense of things. After the pair continued to jaw at one another, Saints said that he would put his title on the line so that he could get his hands on Page. Ava then booked the title match for next week, declaring that it better be the last of the disturbances to the wider show between them. While she didn't comment on when he would get a title shot, Ava did recognize that Legacy's win in the triple threat match has granted him a claim for a title shot down the line. Now, we saw some WWE LFG influence last night on NXT. Troy promised to make an immediate impact. There was an in-ring segment on the May 20th NXT on the CW between Miles Bourne and NXT champion Obafemi ahead of their title match at Battleground this weekend. After the two talents exchanged words and Bourne exited the ring, Femi was attacked from behind by WWE LFG co-winner Jasper Troy. Earlier in the program, Troy and fellow LFG winner Tyra May Steele met with general manager Ava. She told them they'll be making their official NXT in-ring debuts in the coming weeks. Before the segment ended, Troy said he would be making a statement on the show, and he followed up by attacking the NXT champion. On the April 30th NXT, Obafemi was being interviewed backstage, and The Undertaker approached him to give him props and let him know that members of his WWE LFG team would be coming for his spot. Troy was present as part of The Undertaker's team. Now, we saw the return of OTM last night on NXT. Lucian Price and Bronco Nima returned to action on the May 20th episode of NXT. They defeated the new iteration of Andre Chase University as Uriah Connors and Kel Dixon represented the latest class of Chase U. They would get the victory with a suplex spinebuster combination move. Now, this was their first match on TV since January 10th. They have recently been working the NXT live events, but without out of action from January 10th until April 5th. On commentary, Corey Graves mentioned that Lucian Price was healed up. However, there was no mention of what type of injury he might have been nursing. Now, we have the viewership information for last week's episode of WWE Raw on Netflix. The further WWE has gotten from WrestleMania 41, the further Raw has seen its Netflix numbers slide from what it had been at the high point of the show on Netflix. The first 2 weeks of its run notwithstanding. In the first 3 weeks since the post-WrestleMania Raw, the Red brand has gone back to living in the high 2 to low 3 million views per week range, while staying in the mid 5 million range regarding number of hours viewed. This week, the trend continued except for some slippage in one category. WrestleNomics reports that the May 12th edition of Raw had 2.7 million global views over the course of the week. This was the third straight week Raw saw slight declines in global view department, down from 2.8 million the week before. The more concerning trend may be the hours viewed, however, which was at only 5.1 million. This was down from 5.7 million hours viewed on May 5th and represents the lowest number of hours viewed a Raw episode has done in the entirety of its Netflix run. The bad news continued with Raw's rankings on the global and US top 10. Despite numbers reverting back to normal, Raw had maintained strong spots in the rankings post-WrestleMania, staying in the top 5 globally and the top 3 in the US, a trend that had continued for 4 straight weeks. That run didn't last for May 12th, with Raw falling to 8th in the global top 10 and 7th domestically. It's the lowest Raw has been ranked globally since April 14th and is the lowest it's ever been ranked in the domestic top 10, beating its previous rank of 6th back on February 24th, March 31st and April 7th. Now, Darby Allin, when can we expect the former TNT champion back on AEW TV? Former two-time TNT champion Darby Allin completed the accomplishment of a lifetime when he successfully completed his Mount Everest climb over the weekend. But now the question on AEW fans' minds is when exactly the star is going to return to the ring. According to Ultimate Kilimanjaro, a climbing website, the descent from the mountain's summit to back to base camp can take anywhere from 2 days to a week, as the terrain is just as treacherous coming down the mountain. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez discussed Darby's return on Wrestling Observer Radio on Monday, and Meltzer said to expect him back in the summer. Quote, "He should probably be back relatively soon. It won't be right away, but probably within a few weeks," Meltzer said. "I mean, I had heard like July 12th was touch and go. I wouldn't expect him necessarily much before that, so probably July, but we'll see." Now, fans have been curious about Darby Allin's status since before even he started up Everest, back when AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, surprisingly to some, retained his title over Swerve Strickland at AEW Dynasty in April. Many fans believe it will be Darby Allin to dethrone the leader of the Death Riders when he comes back from his expedition. Meltzer's prediction of July would put Darby Allin back on AEW programming for All in Texas, which is Saturday, July 12th. If Moxley is still champion at the time, he will face either Will Ospreay or Hangman Adam Page, depending on who wins the 2025 Owen Hart Memorial Cup tournament at Sunday's Double or Nothing. Moxley is reportedly set to be in the Anarchy in the Arena match at the upcoming pay-per-view. Now, this week, we've seen quite a few reports of WWE signing European talents, and the reason why has possibly been revealed. a possible reason for WWE signing of multiple stars of the European independent wrestling scene has now been revealed. Now, Cultaholic exclusively reported on May 20th that WWE are signing Agile Blanc and Mike DeVicchio. Both wrestlers are set to start with the company by September. Now, Fightful Select also reported that Zozea is expected to sign with WWE, and he will begin with the company later this year. The signings of Blanc, Vecchio, and Zozea came about following tryouts at WWE's UK Performance Center on March 29th and March 30th. Now, following the reports, Mike Johnson of PW Insider has noted that WWE have been putting a lot of attention into international recruitment in recent weeks. This coincides with talk within WWE that the company are finally preparing to launch NXT Europe later this year. Now, NXT Europe has long been discussed, with WWE announcing in the immediate aftermath of the closure of NXT UK in September 2022 that the company planned to launch NXT Europe in the near future. The project has been repeatedly delayed, however, but WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque claimed earlier this year at the WWE UK tryouts that NXT Europe was still happening. Quote, "It is still happening. I'm still a big believer that the UK was going to work. The product was there, the interest level was there, the pandemic squashed it. For years, we couldn't move people, we couldn't bring people in, and it just shut down. I still believe it's there," Triple H told the Daily Mail. "I still believe in the expansion of what we're doing. It's about the opportunity for people. The opportunity in this industry, what we do is few and far between outside of WWE, where you're kind of just trying to do it on your own. It's as if you have an instrument, but no one is teaching you how to play it, and you're trying to start a band. You're just kind of winging it, and there's no other stuff, so people will come and pay to see it. But if you have somebody teaching you, showing you the ropes, showing you how to play, mentoring you, it makes it so much easier. That's what this is about. The future of the business for us is going to Japan, the Middle East, Australia, and all these places where we can help support and grow a thriving industry. The people who don't see that don't see what we do." Now, should WWE launch NXT Europe later this year, it would be WWE's 5th brand, joining Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Evolve. WWE, of course, also have the WWE ID program for independent wrestlers. Now, the Hardies, at one point, people thought the TNA tag team stars were set for an upcoming AAA Triple Mania show. Now, several TNA wrestling stars are set to appear at an upcoming AAA Triple Mania show on June 15th, but curiously, the Hardies will not be featuring. Matt and Jeff are two of TNA's biggest stars, and indeed one of the most celebrated tag teams in professional wrestling history. With Triple Mania being the first Triple Mania show since WWE announced the acquisition of AAA, it was assumed they would be on the card, with the reports suggesting they would be appearing. However, Matt Hardy is now addressed why the Hardys won't be on the show, saying the following on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, quote, "I know we were asked about that, and full transparency, we're booked already those weekends," said Hardy. "We were asked about doing them, but we weren't able to, obviously, but maybe sometime down the road we will. I'd never say never to, I'm not going to lie, I would love Matt and Jeff Hardy to pick up the AAA tag team titles." Now, the Hardys have held pretty much every major tag title you can think of as part of their Expedition of Gold, but the AAA tag team titles do elude them. The Hardys have also never held the NXT Tag Team Championships, although the team won't be competing for those bouts, at least for the time being. And finally, a bit of a change here to Ring of Honor programming this coming week. Ring of Honor announced that this week's episode of ROH TV will air on Friday, May 23rd, as opposed to its usual Thursday time slot. The episode will also be airing free on the ROH YouTube channel, along with Honor Club. AEW Collision, of course, is set to air on Thursday, May 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern on TBS. But there you go, guys, the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As you can see right there, we're at 21,806 subscribers. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe as we get closer to 22K on that road to 25K. You can also join members of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can also click the join button or scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. Speaking of the sidebar, you can see all upcoming watch-alongs and post-shows we've got here live on the channel, including Saturday night's main event on Saturday and AEW Double or Nothing on Sunday. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you again very soon.